It's almost impossible for it to happen on any kind of a large scale because people have to register. They have to register to vote, first of all. That's when they provide the proof and the documentation. So to think somehow that like you're going to have like thousands of people or something registering under wrong names and stuff like that, it's ludicrous. And to think somehow that it's going to happen or whatever, it doesn't make any sense. So they're looking at it, they're trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist. And you have to wonder, what are they trying to do? Because basically, everyone knows this is going to affect more the poor, the minorities, people that maybe don't have a driver's license, maybe don't have checking accounts, this sort of thing. And there's a lot of people out there that unfortunately don't have a driver's license. So, and also too, what's going to happen is you're going to have situations where now somebody comes in, well now they don't have their driver's license. So now you run down, oh, do you have a passport? Well, no, you don't have a passport. Oh, well, you got this, you got that. You know, it's going to take time, and people who are already in lines trying to vote, they're going to get frustrated. And then they're going to say, ah, the heck with it. I'm not standing in line for 2 hours while this guy, gets his voter proof of identification thing in order here. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. And the only thing that you can really think is that it's meant to hold down the voter turnout, and particularly among the poor and the minorities who tend to vote Democrat. So it's just really one of these things that you just really hope that people somehow, the more this comes out and the more people really think about it. I mean, I think that to some degree, yes, maybe people do think that it's a common sense thing, and that's what Republicans are proposing. But when you think about it in terms of voter fraud, it's not a problem. It's not an issue. It's not anything. So what's the common sense thing? The common sense thing is to let people vote and to try to encourage people to vote, not to stop people from voting. So we're going to take a break right now. Stay tuned. I'll be right back.
At theheraldstandard.com, our mission is to
That's our chief investigative reporter for the county.
Enable our communities to prosper.
Like I said, we just watched almost 2 hours of stuff from this area. This is John Munn's book, Stealing Elections. He's a reporter for the Wall Street Journal and CNN. We are in the book. Fayette County had a congressman not that long ago that was arrested for voter fraud. In our couple of years of existence, we've shut down 2 polls here.
Okay, we're here today. We're talking about the effort by the Republicans in the state legislature. The state Republicans in the Senate passed a measure last week that would require people to present some type of identification before you're going to be allowed to vote. It's going to be passed by the House. The House Republicans have already signed on to this, and Governor Corbett has already signed on to it. One of the things that I think, as I was saying in the first part, it's really hard to believe that they're trying to do something like this, but all the talk is about trying to get more people to vote, and the Republicans have come up with a plan to where you're going to have less people voting, and it's going to be tougher to vote for even those who do have proof. It's going to make for longer lines and things like that. And the thing that really, I think, just kind of bothers me somewhat is, Republicans are big about talking about, like, well, we don't want to hear about federal mandates and stuff, let the states determine whatever. Well, the fact of the matter is this is the 16th state now that's going to have some type of voter ID, and they're all proposed by the Republicans. So basically, you have the Republican Party, the National Republican Party, pushing this down the throats of Pennsylvanians. And I think that Pennsylvanians should be allowed to decide how they want to have their elections themselves without some kind of a national type of a movement, especially when there's no evidence of any fraud. So something to think about, something, that the people really do need to let their legislators know and to let people know how upset you are. So that's going to do it for this week's
We intend on letting them know.
My name's Mark Keith. I'm executive editor of heraldstandard.com. If you want to email me a question, I'd be more than happy to address.
There's your email for him right there.
Mo Keith.
Have you ever heard such a lame excuse in your life?
Yeah, every day.
True.
Yeah, I hear that.
That's why I get the.
We have tens, now this is just Fayette County alone, tens of thousands of dead people still on our rolls. It takes at least 2 cycles to purge a person off the rolls. Have you ever seen a dead man show up at a poll with his license?
Yeah, it's 2 presidential cycles.
Yeah, no, 2 federals.
Yeah.
Presidential.
Just somebody dies doesn't mean they shouldn't be eligible to vote.
It's not you want more voters, you want more legal voters. And no one doesn't want more voters. We just don't want them to be dead, or to be voting 10 times, or any of the other 2 hours worth of stuff that we just saw from all over the country. This is supposed to be where we get our information from in the county, from this newspaper. This is the head of that. Now there's no, I mean, like I said, we've made national news in this county, and yet they pay no attention to any of it. It's not that we haven't tried to have stuff taken care of, just like with the Black Panthers that we watched earlier. They just don't prosecute it. He's not the only one that said this.
Corbett was Attorney General, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. That's exactly right.
Why couldn't they prosecute it if he was the head cop?
It doesn't get done. It doesn't get through. Look how many times the people turn stuff in locally and nothing happens with it. It dies.
He's on their side.
Yeah, I guess so.
We'll do that.
Please take time. We're going to do more with this for sure. I can't believe he actually put this on the air. Feel free. There's his email. I'm sure he'd love to hear from us. And I'm sure we will do this more often. We will have more of this on. This is absolutely ridiculous to have this. And the argument they're using against voter ID is asinine. And the vast majority of the people in this area, in this state, in this country, are absolutely okay with voter ID. It's these guys that are fighting.
Where can we get information on the actual voter ID law, the one that was just?
Well, we actually will have Daryl back down. Daryl Metcalf was the sponsor of the bill. We've had him here before for different events. He'll be back. You can go online and get it. Just start Googling voter ID, PA voter ID, and go through that. You can bring it all up.
What bothers me the most, voter ID's probably a good idea, but if they can hack into the programs for the election machines, then all of that is worthless.
I agree.
So,
But what we have to do is keep taking away all the different ways they've done it. Because now it's getting harder and harder for this stuff to happen. And to think that this doesn't count, guys, remember, this last election in this county, the commissioner's race was 18 votes. And it was all based on the absentees, which is the largest way to have voter fraud in the first place, which we all figured that out.
but the system's so complicated that, you know, they passed this voter ID law, that's good, but that's just a small step in a big pond.
Yes?
The whole system's flawed.
True.
So you have, if 100 of us vote on the ballot, play with the
So
system.
see, there's probably
Take
never
that
ballot
thing up.
close.
Well, I think the little receipts that we do about that. If there's any questions, I'll go back to the polling place.
But you would think in the United States where you can go to a cash machine and take out money without having to be able to vote.
The way things go in
They don't want it that way.
If they did find a flaw, that'd be 3 more presidents before they consistent. That's how it's just a total bunch of baloney.
If I go to the rental place and rent a chainsaw, I gotta have a driver's license or an ID. What the heck does it matter about showing my ID?
You can't walk into the federal building, in any federal building in this country without an ID. How do you go in to get your Social Security to start with? Or any of the paperwork for that kind of thing? You go into a Social Security office, let's see you get anything accomplished without having your ID with you.
Well, if you're against the photo ID, you know why you're against it.
Well, he said the right word,
Okay.
common sense. So I wish they'd start using some.
Is there anybody in this room that would not like to see this problem fixed?
Is there anyone in this room that doesn't think there's voter fraud?
I can tell you a very easy way to fix it, or at least most of it. 90% of it can be fixed. The people in this room gotta quit bitching and run for judge of elections, which means you're the person sitting at the table deciding who votes.
Well, and that's
And if you don't
exactly
do
right, and
that,
that's what we've done in this
shame on
group
you.
from the get-go.
I won with only my own vote.
Most of the ones in this county now have done that. When you look at the amount of people that changed from the 35 or so that we had to the 150 or so that we have, it's either been because you wrote yourself in or ran. It doesn't take much. The problem is no one's ever doing it. Now it's especially statewide, it's happening all the time, and both parties, it's driving them crazy. Because now there's people actually out there and seeing it and getting activated and informed and stuff on all these issues. And normally this kind of stuff, this propaganda would just go out into the airways and no one would ever question it. Well, now groups like this and groups like a whole bunch of other ones don't let this stuff slide anymore. So we will continue with this one for sure.
Is it possible, if you're a poll watcher, that you would be able to videotape them opening those ballots and stuff?
In the discussion we had with the last meeting with the election board, they actually mentioned maybe putting cameras in the election office. That would, because that way you wouldn't be seeing the voters, but you'd be seeing the process.
I don't mean the voters. I mean, I'm talking about when they count them at the end of the day.
Well, that's what I'm saying. This would be at the elections office when they actually we're starting to tabulate everything together.
I think he's.
In the polling place, I don't think that'll happen, but the election office is a possibility. There's no doubt about it. We need a better system. But to stick your head in the sand and pretend like there's nothing going on and that we're silly because we're looking at this, please. There are no documented cases. You hear that all the time. We just watched 2 hours of them, and it took 15 minutes to load that many of them in. I mean, there are thousands of cases like that. And if for no other reason than the fact that this, right now, for you, if you pass away, you have to go through 2 presidential election cycles to be purged off the list. 8 years to get off the list. This takes care of it in one sweep. For no other reason, that's enough. But yet they mock it. Their righteous indignation with this stuff, it's sick.
David, I gotta be careful how I say this. A friend of mine registered a foreign national to vote just to see how hard it would be to do. No problem whatsoever. No questions, nothing. So this foreign national was registered to vote, getting all the mailers that probably even was on the list to be asked to be on jury duty.
Absolutely. There's his email, guys. Send something.
Well, on the front of our illustrious newspaper here, last week or whatever, had about this primary prep. Is anyone going to go to these classes they're having?
We have had a couple guys went. We did last year. We're actually the ones that forced that.
Well, they're having the one
Saturday.
Monday, March 19th,
Oh, is-
7 to 9.
I'm glad you brought that up because I thought there was only one left for Saturday.
No, they're having one Monday night. I was thinking about going.
Please do. We've had a few people go this time. We had some go last year, last election, and we're basically the ones that have forced that to be done.
This training is open to the public.
It wasn't before us.
Not like if you want to be a poll watcher or something, do they assign you a poll or can you go?
No. The poll watching is done through the party, but we here in the last couple of years, we've trained over 150 poll watchers. And you can go to any poll to be a poll watcher.
Dave, any candidate can do it as well. It doesn't have to be a
Right.
party. So if you're an independent candidate, any polling place that would be legitimately voting for you, you can send a poll watcher in, even if you're
Right.
not associated with the party.
We try to hold at least 2 or 3 poll watchers classes every year for training. We've gotten some of the training we just went to last week in Pittsburgh. We're going to be adding to some of that stuff with it. It's a lot more organized than what we were the last time. We keep not only learning but adding to our numbers all the time. And what I have always suggested is, and one of the reasons we pushed them to open those classes up, because like I said, they wanted nothing to do with that originally. to the point that they